All right, so get this. Today, we're diving deep into something you use probably every day without even thinking about it, SatNav.
Mm.
We've got some excerpts here from, believe it or not, the Wikipedia article on satellite navigation devices, and trust me, it's a lot more interesting than it sounds.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking Cold War espionage, incredible engineering, and even some cautionary tales about what happens when you trust technology a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's really quite remarkable when you think about how this technology, which started as a way to keep submarines from getting lost, is now so integrated into our lives.
Right. It's like, honey, did we survive the Cold War?
Eh?
Yeah, now we can get directions to the nearest Starbucks on our phone.
Yeah.
But seriously, I was blown away to learn that SatNav, or GNSS as it's technically called, has its roots in that very era of, like, superpower rivalry.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Both the U.S. and Russia realized very early on that knowing exactly where things were anywhere on the planet was a massive strategic advantage. It's a classic example of how technologies, that are born from conflict can end up kind of reshaping civilian life in these really profound ways. Think about the internet, another Cold War innovation.
Whoa, you're so right. Okay, so walk me through this.
Yeah.
How did we go from, like, tracking submarines to getting turn-by-turn directions in our cars?
Well, the first step was taken by the U.S. Navy back in 1960
Okay.
with the launch of Transit. This was the first satellite navigation system,
Wow.
and it was designed specifically to help their submarines navigate while submerged.
1960, that's even before the moon landing. I had no idea it went back that far.
Yeah.
So how did this, like, military tech make the leap to the civilian world?
Well, it's a gradual process, but a tragic event really accelerated things.
Okay.
In 1983, Korean Airlines Flight 007 was shot down by a Soviet fighter jet after it veered off course.
Oh, wow.
And a navigational error was a contributing factor to the tragedy. Yeah, and it really highlighted the need for a reliable global navigation system that everyone could use, not just the military.
Right.
And President Reagan, in response to this incident, made the decision to open up the military GPS system for civilian use. It was a pivotal moment in the history of SatNav.
Wow. So from Cold War strategy to a heartbreaking tragedy, it's incredible how these events shaped the technology we use every single day.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know it started with satellites, but how does this stuff actually work?
Sure.
I mean, how do these signals from space help us find the closest pizza place?
Okay, imagine your phone is like a detective,
Okay.
using clues from different satellites to try to pinpoint your location.
I like where this is going.
Each satellite sends out a signal, and that signal acts like a time-stamped message saying, this is where I am and this is what time it is.
Okay.
Your device receives these signals, and because it knows how fast these signals travel, it can calculate how far away it is from each satellite.
So the farther away the satellite, the longer it takes for the signal to reach my phone.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And here's where it gets even cooler. To get an accurate position, your device needs to receive signals from at least 4 different satellites. It's all about triangulation.
Okay, I get it. More signals, more clues for our detective phone.
Right.
So more satellites equals more precise positioning.
You got it. With those distances locked down, your phone can use some pretty fancy math to pinpoint your location on Earth.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense now. It's like
Yeah.
a giant game of cosmic GPS tag.
Right.
But if the signals are coming from space, how come my GPS still works when I'm inside a building?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question.
Wouldn't the roof block the signals?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
It all comes down to these incredible little components called high-sensitivity receivers.
High sensitivity receivers, those sound pretty intense.
They are pretty amazing, actually.
Okay.
See, those signals from the satellites are incredibly weak by the time they reach us down here.
Right.
We're talking, like, fainter than a whisper in a hurricane. These receivers are specially designed to pick up those whispers, even indoors or in dense urban areas where buildings and trees could block the signal.
So how do they do it? Are they like super antennas or something?
It's more about clever signal processing.
Okay.
Instead of just relying on brute strength, these receivers are incredibly patient.
Okay.
They collect those weak signals over time and use some really impressive algorithms to amplify them. It's like taking a faint echo and turning it into a clear soundbite.
That's wild. So they're like the marathon runners of the receiver world, slow and steady,
That's a good way to put it.
Gathering those faint signals.
Yeah. Now, there are also sequential receivers, which are more common in less expensive devices.
Okay.
They use fewer channels to pick up signals, so they have to analyze them one by one, like a detective working through a list of suspects.
Right.
They get the job done for basic navigation, but they can be a bit slower, especially if you're moving quickly, like on the highway.
Okay, so high sensitivity for maybe using your phone's GPS inside a mall, and then sequential receivers for more everyday casual navigation.
Exactly.
Got it. This is making a lot more sense now.
Good, good.
But we've talked a lot about how this tech works, but what about how we actually use it? I mean, obviously there's navigation, but it goes way beyond just getting from point A to point B these days, right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We've gone from those clunky, dedicated GPS units that took up half the dashboard
Oh, I remember those.
to having sat-nav seamlessly integrated into almost every aspect of our lives.
Oh, yeah, those old GPS units, they were like the size of a brick.
Right. But now it's in your smartphone, your laptop, even your camera,
That's true.
and the applications are astounding. Let's start with vehicle navigation.
Okay.
We're not just talking about getting turn-by-turn directions anymore, but real-time traffic updates, alternate routes to avoid congestion, even finding nearby points of interest like gas stations, restaurants.
Oh, totally. I can't imagine going on a road trip without those features.
Right.
Remember printing out MapQuest directions?
Exactly. And how about aviation?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine trying to land a plane in bad weather or navigating through complex airspace.
Right.
Pilots rely heavily on sat-nav for precision navigation.
It makes flying safer and more efficient for everyone on board.
Sure.
But SatNav's reach goes even further than that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's not forget its continued importance to the military.
You're right.
They use it for everything from guiding troops on the ground to coordinating vehicles and aircraft movements. Really high-stakes stuff.
Wow.
It's come a long way from those early days of helping submarines find their way.
It's kind of like, you know what they say, you can lead a horse to water.
Right.
Or in this case, you can lead a car to a hiking trail,
Yeah.
but you can't make it think.
Exactly.
So common sense is definitely still required, even with all of this, like, really advanced technology at our fingertips.
For sure. It's a good reminder that technology is a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool, it can be used effectively or ineffectively. But beyond these kind of, more extreme examples, there's another layer of concern with sat-nav we should probably touch on. And that's privacy.
Ooh.
When your phone or your car's navigation system is constantly tracking your location,
Right.
it's generating a lot of data about your movements.
And we all know data is valuable,
Exactly.
but how is it being used beyond just like, knowing where I buy my groceries?
Well, for starters, that data can be incredibly valuable for targeted advertising.
Okay.
Businesses can track your movements, see what stores you visit, and then send you personalized ads based on your location history.
So if I'm spending a lot of time at the gym and suddenly my phone is showing me ads for protein shakes and workout gear,
Right.
now I know why.
Exactly. And it's not just about your shopping habits either. Some employers are using GPS tracking to monitor their employees' movements, particularly in fields like delivery services or transportation.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense for logistics and efficiency, but I can see how that could feel a little intrusive for some people. Like Big Brother is always watching, even if it's just your boss.
Yeah, you're right. It's a tricky balance. And it's not just employers either.
Oh.
There have been reports of car rental companies using GPS to track their customers' driving habits, sometimes even adding extra fees if they exceed speed limits or drive outside of designated areas.
Wow. That's a little creepy. I guess convenience often comes with a price, especially in our increasingly digital world.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, where do we draw the line?
That's the big question, isn't it? The good news is that as these technologies become more prevalent, people are becoming more aware of the privacy implications.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the development of privacy-focused navigation apps that limit data collection
Right.
and stricter data protection laws aimed at giving individuals more control over their information.
That is good news. It sounds like there's a growing awareness that while this technology is incredibly useful,
Right.
it also has the potential to be misused.
For sure.
So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for SatNav?
Well, one thing's for sure. Sat-nav, in its many forms, is here to stay.
Right.
It's become so integral to our lives that it's hard to imagine going back.
Yeah.
As for the future, We can expect to see continued advancements in areas like self-driving cars, which will rely heavily on even more precise and reliable sat-nav systems.
Right.
We might even see, more sophisticated indoor navigation, making it easier to find your way around those confusing shopping malls we talked about earlier.
No more wandering aimlessly, trying to find the food court. I'm sold. It's just amazing to think how far we've come from those early days of Cold War submarines
Yeah.
to having this technology practically like woven into the fabric of our lives.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. It makes you wonder what other surprising applications of sat-nav will emerge in the years to come.
Right.
What innovations haven't we even dreamt of yet?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with. Think about it. If we could travel back in time just 50 years and tell someone about all of this,
Right.
they probably wouldn't believe us.
True.
It makes you realize that the future of sat-nav and the impact it'll have on our lives, it's still being written.